Also, as soon as I opened it, I remembered the gold chain and the emerald green. I was shown this already. I was told this in my meditation. What if your imagination was a translator for your intuition with the right intention? What if your imagination is real? This was one of the biggest shifts at the beginning of my journey of remembering, opening, understanding that my imagination could actually be trusted and that it was part of the language of my intuition was a huge realization. And it helped me so deeply. That's why I wanted to share a few of the beginning ways that I noticed this happening. Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Treen, and I'm an intuitive guide, energy healer, and meditation teacher. And I'm here on this channel to offer a very grounded approach to all things energy and intuition. But grounded doesn't mean without the magic. It means bringing it to your reality, understanding all of the magical abilities that your energy and your intuition already have, and that shifting your awareness, paying more attention, learning more about yourself and your energy and how your intuition speaks to you. This is what I hope to help support you with this channel. Now, obviously, I am not the first one to understand this. I believe Picasso has a quote about it, but this was a huge turning point for me in my intuitive journey. And when I realized that my intuition was speaking to me through my imagination, it was really beautiful and brought so much more trust to what I was experiencing and helped me trust the steps that I was feeling my intuition was asking me to make. And luckily, I have so many examples of my imagination being very real and translating what my intuition was trying to tell me. But before I recorded this, I wanted to tune in and ask my intuition to show me a few examples that I could share that hopefully will help you connect to your intuition in a deeper way and trust the intentions that you set to receive insight and guidance and clarity from yourself through your imagination. So, the first story I wanted to share is the very beginner level 1 Reiki training that I went to. This is a universal healing modality. This was a modality, a healing modality that I did not have a lot of experience with. Many months before I had my training, the level 1 training, I was receiving so many different signs, subtle ones and larger ones, hearing about Reiki everywhere, meeting people that had trained in it, meeting people that had just come from a session. And this can happen. This is an effect when you are thinking about something. It's that same effect if you are thinking about, say, a blue car, then you will notice blue cars everywhere and people will start talking about blue cars. It is a real effect in the world. But this was different because I was not thinking about Reiki. I was not going to a practitioner. I had not had a session. I had had one about 16 years prior to that, but that was it. I had one when I was 18 and I had a really, really bad accident and hurt myself quite horribly. So I was not looking for it. I wasn't even thinking about doing that. But in my everyday, there's so many things and examples and signs pointing me to, okay, let me look into this. Maybe this is something I should do. And at the time, I was not interested in groups, in participating in anything. It was part of my personality. But at the time, I was so burnt out at work that just thinking about spending my days off with a big group of people felt like a horrible idea. That was not what I wanted to do. But the signs kept coming. I kept seeing and understanding that, all right, everything's pointing to Reiki. Why don't I look it up? And it took quite a few months. I would say about 5. But then I did. And when I looked it up, there was a Reiki center so close to where I lived that I had never seen before. And they were having a level 1 training over the weekend, only a couple of weeks away. So I took that as a sign, especially because I had so much resistance to it. I didn't want to do it, but I felt this pull. I was trusting this feeling. And I went. And there were so many synchronicities on the way. One of them was I took the bus to go there. And on the bus, it was pretty close, but I was running a little bit late. So it was a last minute thing to go on the bus. And I was sitting on the bus and we got to the next stop. And then a woman got on the bus. And I imagined that she was sitting next to me in the Reiki class that I was going to. I thought, oh, she must be in my class for no reason other than my imagination showed me and it felt like it. But that seemed a little out of the blue. But then just a few stops later, what happened? We both got off and we got off the bus, we walked across the street, and we both went into the door where the Reiki training was being held. And so that was a small example of my imagination. But then during the class, it was later in the afternoon, we were practicing on each other. And of course, my resistance and my fear and my not wanting to go was completely unfounded because that was not my intuition. That was my burnt out nervous system speaking to me. And luckily, I listened to my intuition and I went. So, having a great day, learning all of these beautiful modalities and working with energy. And just a little sidebar of that, I realized that I knew exactly what this energy was. It felt so familiar, and I had already been doing it. I just didn't know that's what it was called. And so I was so excited to learn more and learn how, with all of these different systems and techniques, to utilize it. And level 1 is all about utilizing it and practicing it on yourself, supporting yourself. And that made such a difference. But going back to the afternoon, so it's the afternoon, we're practicing on each other. It's all about learning the structure of where to place the hands, and then you can expand and work more intuitively if you want to. That's what I was learning in this training that I was in with the traditional Usui Reiki training. So it's a level 1. We're working together and it's my turn. And I have one of the students on the massage table with a blanket, and I was to begin. And when you begin the hand placements, you start at the crown, you start at the head. So I started at the head, and then I went to the base of the head, and then my imagination, it was showing me shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. I just kept getting flashes of her shoulder over and over again. So I placed my hands on her shoulder. I remember it was her left shoulder, and I stayed there. I worked above through her energy field and then also on her physical body. And we were technically supposed to be practicing the placements. So working the way down the physical body and the energy field. But I kept seeing her shoulder. My imagination was working overtime, just showing me this movie of her shoulder in my mind's eye. And I have a very vivid imagination since I was a kid. So I was used to seeing things in my mind's eye, daydreaming so much. But this was the first time that I had really paid attention to it and listened to it, followed it. And I thought, well, if I keep seeing her shoulder and this feels right, I'm just going to stay here for the allotted time. And then when the time was up, the teacher was there and she said, good that you stayed there. Tell me why you were staying on the shoulder. And I explained it just felt like the right thing. I didn't share that it was in my mind and that my imagination was showing me her shoulder over and over again because I was scared to say that. I didn't want to seem strange, even in this energy healing beginner course. I didn't want to not be believed. I didn't want to run the risk of not being believed, really. And then the student who I was working on said how lovely it was and that it did really help her. But the strangest part, the best part, was that her left shoulder, what I was working on the whole time, even though I was meant to be working on her whole body, the shoulder that I kept seeing, my imagination showing me, this was her largest source of pain for quite a long time. She had chronic, deep pain in her left shoulder for I don't know how long, but a very long time. And out of her whole system, she said that that was the only place that she felt she needed healing. And my imagination showed that to me, which was really amazing. And I felt so grateful and confused, but it also felt really natural and familiar. And so many other things happened in that first training and the second one and the third one, but I will save those stories for another time because when I asked my intuition, that was the main story to tell. My first training and how my imagination showed me that this woman would be in my class, and then I would be practicing on her, and I would be shown by my imagination exactly where on her body, in her energy, that she needed support. And that was a huge shift for me. Huge. So that was a big one. And the second one my intuition was showing me to share today was a very simple one, but one that blew my mind. And again, very early in my development. And this one, I didn't even put in the same category as the Reiki healing one because it happened a few months before. I wasn't quite sure what happened. And because I wasn't fully trusting that my intuition was clearly speaking through my imagination, I didn't put so much weight on it as one of the first times that I had evidence for myself that my intuition was speaking through my imagination and that my imagination with the right intention is completely real. And it's a simple one. So, a few months before the Reiki training, I was meditating. And before I went into a deep meditation, I asked my intuition because I was working with it. I just didn't fully understand the language yet, always learning, but it was quite at the infancy of learning the language. And so I was meditating. And before I went into the meditation, I created an intention of what do I need to know? That was it. What do I need to know? What do I need to know today? That was it. Small, easy, not expecting anything. But in this meditation, I saw quite vividly through my imagination a gold chain and then a lot of emerald green. So much emerald green, like walls and walls of emerald green. And I love emerald green, so I wasn't really surprised about that. But I wrote it down in my journal, which I recommend if you are not already and you're developing your intuition, you're working on different ways to work with your energy. anything spiritual, intuitive, energy focused, write things down. Write down your experiences. Use your notes app. Keep records because it is so cool to look back. It is incredible. I have many journals that I can look back on and even use as my own oracle books to receive guidance and insight from my past self. So I would definitely recommend and encourage anyone who is not writing down what they are experiencing through their development, through this remembering, to definitely keep some notes. So in my meditation, gold chain and a lot of emerald green, like so much emerald green, and specifically emerald green, which I knew that color so well. My intuition knew to show me emerald green. And that night, I happened to be going out with a friend of mine, and not for any special reason. It was planned and just a friend date. So we went out for dinner. And my friend had a gift for me, which was not that common. We didn't really give gifts to each other, especially out of the blue. We would pay for each other's dinner, but gifts were birthdays predominantly, pretty much birthdays. But it wasn't my birthday because they said, I felt like this was for you. I wanted to get this for you. So very sweet and very surprising. And then when I opened the gift, it was a box. And when I opened the box, there was a gold chain with a beautiful, super petite, but gorgeous emerald, an emerald stone on this gold chain that I was given by my friend for no reason other than a beautiful gift, which is one of the best things that we can do for each other, to give a gift for no reason. And I was shocked. Not only shocked because this gift was such a surprise and so thoughtful and really nice and something that I absolutely love to this day, but also as soon as I opened it, I remembered the gold chain and the emerald green. I was shown this already. I was told this in my meditation. This is what I needed to know today. And I took that as not even, oh, you need to know that you're going to get a gift. I took it as what you need to know is how to receive. Because at that time, I was not great at receiving. I was not great at receiving support, asking for help, receiving compliments, receiving gifts. And at the time, I was working on opening up to receive a new career, to receive my purpose, to receive abundance, everything that I thought that I needed that I was lacking in my life. And now I have learned so much more about what it really means to open yourself up to receive and to also give. But at that time, that's what I really needed to start looking at. And I did. And it was my imagination that spoke through my intuition. Because in hindsight, if I had not paid attention to what my imagination had showed me in my meditation, if I had thought that they were just random or, just something that my brain was showing me and just didn't even write it down because it didn't seem like anything to me, then I wouldn't have gotten that message. And there wouldn't have been this magical moment of receiving this incredible gift, but also understanding that my imagination was real because it was telling me that my intuition needed me to understand how to receive. It's one of the biggest lessons that many of us can learn, to not block ourselves off from love. And love comes in so many forms. But when we are not open to receiving, then we aren't working with our energy in the present. And that's a big part of understanding the language of your intuition. And I will say, I was surprised at the two examples that my intuition shared with me before I brought this video to you. I did have some ideas, some bigger moments that came to my mind right away, but I knew that it wasn't what my intuition was showing me. When I asked my intuition, I was shown these two examples. So I hope that by sharing those examples, maybe it's brought you back to moments in your life in hindsight where you could see, oh, my imagination, it was the language of my intuition. I just wasn't trusting it. So I'm sure I'll share many, many, many more stories. But for today, it felt like those two were the ones that I needed to share. And I wanted to end on a practice that you could bring to your day, to your week, in a way to focus on harnessing the power of your imagination to bring your intuition to you in new ways, to work on this language of your intuition through your imagination. And looking back, I feel like one of the best things about working with my imagination as the translator and not really knowing about intuitive development or any of the psychic clairs or any of the rules. I didn't because I was not a participator and I wasn't that interested in anything spiritual or new age. So I was quite open and I didn't have any expectations because I feel like if I had learned that structure before discovering these things in my own time, in my own experience, then that may have really put my intuition and the language of it in a box. If I had known then that many people believe that they only have a few clairs, a few of the seeing, they only have clear knowing, or they only have clear seeing, or they only have clear hearing, or they only have clear feeling. Many people like to put themselves in a category. But I do feel like, in my experience, that if you do say, "Oh, this is my ability. This is my Claire," that may just be the strongest one or the one that you're the most comfortable as the translator. Because I believe everyone has all of them. And when you use your imagination as a translator for your intuition, you're not stuck in those categories. Because in your imagination, you can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can feel, you can taste, you can all of the things. There's so many ways that your imagination, if you're daydreaming, speaks. But if you put the intention beforehand, asking your intuition to speak through your imagination, then you can start to trust. You can start to trust what your imagination is showing you. And that's how I work in my client work. If I am connecting to their energy field, I am receiving insight and clarity and guidance to reflect through my imagination, through my mind's eye. I am receiving symbols and animals and messages and so many different things. And if I didn't trust my imagination, then that would all be lost. So this is a big, big part of my development and my work and my journey. And I know what a shift that was for me. So I hope that this helped you feel a little bit more empowered in how you can receive. And I wanted to share maybe a practice that you can start to use where you can build that trust muscle of trusting your intuition to translate through your imagination. This is a way for you to receive focused guidance and clarity because yes, I work as an intuitive guide, but you yourself are your own best intuitive. You are the best oracle you could ever meet for yourself. It's about shifting and tuning in to how to receive that information. So, a way that you could practice would be to begin closing your eyes, softening your gaze, and take a nice deep breath in through your nose, bringing that breath down into the belly And let that breath out through your mouth. And take another nice grounding breath through your nose, bringing that breath down into the belly. And let that breath out through your mouth. And take one more nice deep breath in through your nose, bringing that breath down. And let that breath out. And when you're in this more still and grounded place, bring all of your awareness to your body, to your physical body, and ask your intuition to show you where in your body you can pay attention to receive insight. What energy center can you focus on to receive insight from your imagination? And for me, it is usually the heart. But trust what comes to you. So if it's the heart or wherever you were brought to, continue softening your gaze or closing your eyes. Bring all of your attention, all of your awareness to that space. For me, it's the heart. And then ask in your mind's eye or out loud, trust what is best for you. And ask this space in your body, this energy center, wherever you were brought to. Ask to be shown what you need to know. Ask to hear what you need to know. Ask to see, feel, understand. Ask what you need to know for your highest good and the highest good of all today. And if it is difficult for you to connect with your imagination this way, ask for a color. Ask for an animal. Ask for any object. And then when you receive it, and trust your imagination, whatever comes to you, then bring yourself back to your space, take note of what you received, and then look at it. If you asked for a color or an animal, or that's what you received, say it was purple and a tiger, look at purple and look at a tiger and trust what you understand about it. What does it make you think of? What does it make you remember? Trust that you are translating these symbols for yourself. What does it make you feel? How would you describe them? What would you say are the strengths of the animal? And what are the weaknesses? What does the color bring attention to in your life? What does it make you remember? And then when you have received your own insight, you can intuitively search for the spiritual meaning of whatever your imagination showed you. And then trust what resonates. And you will be, in my experience, very surprised at how much it resonates with you and how clearly your intuition is trying to share with you some very important information that you may not have been understanding. But through your imagination, it's translating it for you in a way that you can continue to intuitively translate it for yourself. So I hope that if that resonates for you, you can try it. I would love to hear in the comments what you received or if it's working for you or how your imagination has been a translator for your intuition. I would love to hear. And thank you so much for watching. You can explore in my About. I have all of the links that you can look at for booking a reading or an intuitive healing with me and many different free resources. I have my weekly podcast where I offer energy updates for the week and for the month. And that's also on my podcast feed here on YouTube, but you can find it anywhere where you get your podcasts. And yes, I really appreciate you being here.